Warren, City Manager.
Thank you, Your Honor. The second scheduled matter for tonight is the consideration of proposed establishment of an ordinance safeguarding parental rights in education and child upbringing. At its meeting on March 4, 2025, the City Council approved Vice Mayor McCreary's request for an item to be added to tonight's agenda to consider the establishment of an ordinance safeguarding parental rights in education and child upbringing. The proposed ordinance is included as an attachment in the staff report provided for consideration. Should the council desire to move forward with the establishment of a new ordinance, a public hearing will be scheduled for a future city council meeting for consideration of adoption, followed by a second reading. Staff is available for questions.
Okay, Vice Mayor, bringing it back to council. Vice Mayor, this was your motion. I'll let you go ahead and lead.
Yeah, so we saw a lot of reaction tonight. Again, that's 2 meetings in a row. A lot of the same folks out there. This conversation tonight was a lot more civil, but it was still not where it needs to be, in my opinion. But I think what people are missing in what we're doing here is the reaction was to what was perceived that this was, rather than what it is. And when it's reference to what happened with Chino and some of the other legislation that's happening, is we're in a position where we're treating our children like adults and our adults like children. And when you allow a child to go and change their records at the school without their parents, without their parental permission, that usurps the parental rights. And it's not exactly all this gender ideology everybody's saying. This is about parental rights, and that's what it says in there. Now, the case in Chino Hills was also associated with a gender ideology or gender transition issue, but what is at stake here is that our governor put a law together, and it was effective in January of this year, that overreaches. And there's a lot of this overreach that happens. And it puts into law, AB 1955 puts into law a stereotype. It makes it cloudy, it makes it difficult to manage, it makes it difficult to implement, and it creates the conflict that everyone is seeing in these chambers. And it should be simple. For all of human history, it's been a lot simpler than that. And now all of a sudden we have our state overreaching and now pushing things in our schools. And it's difficult for us as a city to stand up for our families and our parents and our children, whether it's for women's rights or parental rights, against this, because there are so many different facets of this overreach. Now, there are some legislation that is, there are some cases that are pending, and we're probably going to have to see where those cases end up before we can actually implement an ordinance in the city without creating some drama and some other issues. But the discussion is a good issue. This is a good thing to discuss. These are our kids. These are our parents. These are our schools. And we may not be able to regulate the schools, but we may have to look at this in a different way, because the state is now treating our children like they are creatures of the state, where they get to keep secrets from parents. That's just unacceptable from this man. That's not the way we raise our families. That's not the way any of us. A family government is above civil government, and now they're usurping that through state legislation. There's going to be a lot of conflict on this. This isn't over by any means. It's just going to continue on, and we need to have this conversation. It needs to be a civil conversation and not about promoting special interests and what certain people want and what certain people feel. It needs to be what we need as a civil society to agree on, which used to be real simple. Not that simple anymore. So we're just trying to navigate this minefield to protect the citizens and the children and the parents in our city. Now, this thing may